Well, hello, hello, hello. Here we are back again for another episode of Corona Spotlight 2020. Thank you so much for joining me. I am your host, Gayle Nicholson. So happy to see you again today. This has been a very interesting journey getting this lady to appear on my show. She is so busy that it's just difficult to pin her down in any one location for very long at all. So we don't want to miss our window on it, and I am so grateful that you're here, Tomasa Macapinlac, self care queen from levelupyourimmunesystem.com, among other entities. But I am so happy to have you with me here today. How are you?
I'm good. I'm really happy to be here today. I've just been really um, busy working on a lot of moving parts of things that I'm creating right now to help serve the collective. So that's kind of why it's been hard to pin me down, even though we have shelter in place orders.
Right? Ain't that the truth? Ain't that the truth? So, do you have any juicy little tidbits of what you might be working on that you'd like to share with us, maybe?
Absolutely. Well, tomorrow I'm doing a webinar, and
Mm-hmm.
that webinar is entitled Five Must Have Immune Boosters to Give Your Body a Fighting Chance. And, we just came off of COVID-19, and I don't feel like we're clear. So I got this whisper back at the end of February while I was working on a client. Tomasa, the people need your work right now. You need to help everyone. And so I went, oh, okay. And what had just happened a few weeks before that was, I believe, well, let's just put it this way. I had a lot of symptoms. I had a headache that wouldn't go away. It was like an electrical headache. It was like a headache I had never felt before. I had a dry cough.
Mm-hmm.
I had had chills. I had had a fever that came on suddenly and a little bit of a sore throat. I'm trying to think, oh, and the body aches, and I was
Mm.
fatigued.
Okay.
And so I had no idea what was going on with me. And this happened in the middle of February. But I do know that I had been fairly busy
Mm-hmm.
before all this had happened. And I live in Los Angeles now. I used to live in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I go back and forth between the San Francisco Bay Area and Los Angeles because I still have my one-on-one clients in the Bay Area. So I
Mm-hmm.
just come back, settled back into town, went to go help out my mom. My mom's 91 years old and she lives with my oldest sister now. So I thought, let me go do my part to help out, right? I
Mm-hmm.
have a little bit of a break in my schedule, so let me do this while I have some breathing time. And so I went, and it wasn't the most pleasant experience because what is it? Eckhart Tolle says, if you want to know if you've evolved or not, go around your family and you'll soon find out, right? So I stayed there a few days and then I said, I got to go home. I got to go home. I can't do this anymore. And a day later, it was Valentine's Day actually. So I was going to go to a gym fair with one of my healer friends who makes
Mm-hmm.
gemstone jewelry. And we stop at this gluten-free bakery because I'm gluten-free. And I buy all this stuff. And I know I'm buying it because I'm just feeling the week.
Mm-hmm.
The week of,
Mm-hmm.
of being with family.
Please give me some flour and lard right now.
Well,
I
I
need
did
it.
gluten free, thinking
Yeah.
that's a little bit, well, I know it's not even better. Sugar is sugar, okay?
Yep.
So anyway, I load up on all of this stuff, right? And I know that I'm eating emotionally. Well, and then as I'm driving to this gym fair, I get the message from my sister. She calls my little sister, Mom fell.
Oh
So I'm feeling really upset and sad about it. And I said, okay, I'll come work on her. I've been a healer for 23 years. And so I'm a hands on healer. I work with energy. And I don't just want to say energy, chi is
no.
what
Mm-hmm.
I would rather say, because
Yeah.
I work with the life force in the body.
Right.
So my background is in Chinese medicine. And it's also with shamanism of the Inca tradition.
Okay.
And a lot of people like to spell Inca, Inca, and really in the Quechuan language that is the originator of all this is
Uh-huh.
Enqa. And what it means is energy.
Really?
And
I did not know
yes,
that. Isn't that a little interesting tidbit that stays out of the history books?
yeah, it is. Well, you don't learn until you go and you study this and you start practicing these modalities, and you're like, oh, really?
Hmm.
Okay. So I had gone to Peru and I learned a lot about that. But before I even went to Peru, I was initiated as a shaman of the Inca tradition. But anyway, um, so I decided that, okay, I'm going to come work on mom when I can. I want to do it that evening, but I just didn't have the energy driving to Santa Barbara 2 hours and back 2 hours to
Hmm.
LA. A lot. Then you spend all this energy. I'm an empath, so I'm highly, highly sensitive. So
Hmm.
I'm sitting at this show and I'm just like feeling it. I know when I go to these fairs that I'm feeling everybody's energies, right?
Hmm.
So we get out of there, get in and out, what we need, we're gone. But just the drive to Santa Barbara
Yeah,
and
very
back to
draining.
LA.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like
So
it.
I said, okay, I'll go work on mom tomorrow. So I worked on mom the next evening. I went to go work on her.
Hmm.
And she was great. I mean, on Sunday, she was great. But I went home that night and I have this dry cough, right? And
Hmm.
I'm thinking that I'm just sad because I'm feeling that my mom is aging
Uh-huh.
and she's 91 years old. I don't know how much longer she's going to be with us. And she has a fall, and I was sad about that, about my
Right,
mom.
right.
And
That's
so
a,
Sunday, it just kind of all hits me. I go run an errand, I come back, and I just feel like I'm exhausted, I'm tired. And it's just, and also the emotional drainage of the week.
oh yeah,
So
yeah.
I laid on the couch and I just told my other sister who I stay with, and I said, I just need to rest today. It's Soulful Sunday for me, right?
There
That's
you
what
go.
Sundays are usually for me. Well, I started to feel chilled. And then we got invited back out to my sister, where my mom
Uh-huh.
lives, right? I had left some food out there. So we go back out there and we eat. And I'm really chilled by now. So chilled that, I'm trying to drink tea to help me, licorice root tea actually, to help my lungs, because I can
Hmm.
feel my lungs are starting to feel congested. Uh-oh, what happened? And then another thing that happens is that I come home and I take a bath. So because I'm trying to thaw myself out,
Hmm.
and I get a fever, a really high fever. So I'm going to explain this fever to you because I never felt a fever like this in my life.
Okay.
So the fever was so high that my teeth ached.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and the headache was so weird that it felt like an electrical current. I felt like it was a knitting needle in the side of my left side of my head, hemisphere
Hmm.
of my head. And it felt like an electrical current going through it. It was the weirdest thing I have ever
Wow,
experienced.
like that tingliness.
Yes, yes. I have electrical engineering background, so I know how
Okay.
current flows and
Yeah.
what.
Yeah.
So it
No, I
felt like
just
that
mean the
little
difference
tingleness, like
between, you know how when you
electricity.
lay on yourself it goes numb, but there's a
Yes.
difference when you pinch a nerve and there's that tingly, like
Well, that's what
sparks
it
coming
felt
off
like.
of it. Yeah.
That's what it felt like. And
Hmm.
so I was like, oh my God, I think I'm sick. By then, I
How
was
many
in
more
total denial. I
clues?
was like, okay, Tomasa, it's time to do your work on yourself, right? So I start working on myself, and I take Chinese herbal patent formulas. So I usually have those on board. So I was taking those. And about Tuesday, so all this started on Sunday, late Sunday, I would say Sunday early morning, because probably around midnight once I got home after working on my mom.
Hmm.
And then by Tuesday afternoon, I want to say around 3 o'clock, is when I felt like everything, it was like the cloud had lifted.
Interesting.
And I emerged from the couch and I was like, I can actually go in the kitchen and make food for myself. And those who know me know I have a food group on Facebook called The Alchemy of Food.
Hmm.
So I love to make food. It's kind of a hobby kind of group. And I like to share my things like that. So I emerged in the kitchen to fix myself some food. My background is all health and wellness, right?
Uh-huh.
So what do I do? The first thing I make is um, a broth, a vegetable broth. And so, because I know that whatever I do, I need to in order to stay well and not have a relapse, I need to make sure that my body gets the right nourishment, and I need to alkalize it as fast as I can. And so that's what I did.
Nice.
And I didn't have a relapse, but I tell you what, I did. My body kept telling me for a week afterwards that I needed to go to bed earlier. And
Mm-hmm.
as you know, when you sleep is when your immune system heals as
Yes.
well.
Yeah.
So I went to bed earlier every night for about a week or two.
Okay.
And I was fine, but to beat that fever in 48 hours like that, and the energy just changed. It was like the cloud lifted. And the headache was interesting because it was still there, but it was like a little electrical current kept going. I'm still here. I'm still here. And that lasted a little bit longer, but it was duller than it
Mm-hmm.
had felt. And so when I got this message, I feel like I can say this back at the end of February while I was working on a client, because I realized that I might have had
Mm-hmm.
COVID-19 and didn't know it, right?
Right.
So this is before it became, oh, because I'm reading the symptoms. I'm like, oh my God, because I couldn't call it a virus. Or excuse me, I couldn't call it a cold because I knew it was much more than a cold. I had a fever and it was just a
Mm-hmm.
weird thing. And then something in me said, this is not a flu. But intuitively, something in me said, this is some kind of virus. And I don't know what to call it,
Right.
exactly.
Right.
So when I read all those symptoms, I'm like, ooh.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I heard, as I'm working with a client, I'm in the Bay Area working with a client, and I heard, Tomasa, the world needs what you have right now. So I've been working on this, ever since, because I work on myself energetically. And so that's what I've been working on. Um, Level up your immune system, basically. I originally called it protect yourself from the coronavirus naturally. Then I saw the censorship going on and I had to pull that back
Yeah.
because, and I had copyright friends saying to me, Tomasa, I want you to pull that off of there because the world needs you right now. They need your tools, they need what you have to offer, but we don't need them to shut you down.
Right.
And so that is part of why I renamed it Level Up Your Immune System. So I've been working on that. And
Excellent.
so part of that is looking at what that program is going to look like. How can I teach people to feel more confident? Because when the whole thing came out, shelter in place orders, all that, I felt very confident. I was like, I'm not getting anything. And if I did, I already had it and I beat it in 48 hours, right? And so it's like, wow, how can I bottle up what
Mm-hmm.
I know and have and give it to people? And that's what I've been working on.
That is phenomenal stuff. I have to like relate with you because of the fact that I Airbnb my house, and in December I experienced very similar. I can't necessarily say that the I had the electrical current headache, but I had the dry cough for a long time. It was obvious that we got it from the people that were Airbnb-ing with us, and it was like, oh God, that's annoying. That dry cough was so annoying, right? But
It was different. I never experienced anything
yeah,
like that before, and it just would come up. So I get what you're saying.
yeah,
Yeah,
and it was just like when the coronavirus quarantine was called, it's like, okay, I've handled this already. Let's see what we can do to help others handle it. But I had to look back too because it's like people are going, well, did you really or didn't you? I have to say that my normal practice in the wintertime is I drink an awful lot of like live tea, real lemons off my tree, ginseng root from the grocery store, ginger, or it's not ginseng, but ginger root, real cinnamon sticks, live tea, right?
right.
And
Yes,
drinking that live tea, like literally a pot or so a day, just because I like it, right? Um,
right.
and then not. I don't want to toot my own horn. I'm not a perfect person. Yes, the last cup of tea at night before I went to sleep did have a little bit of fireball in it. I'm not going to lie. Um, but because of that practice, I feel like my immune system was loaded for bear. Like, bring it on, we'll kick it back, right? And I would
Right.
imagine that because of your lifestyle as the self care queen, you also had processes in place that you don't even give a second thought to anymore that have loaded your immune system for bear, where you were able to kick that high, like brain damaging fever within
Mhm.
48 hours, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's
Well,
not
it's an accumulation
it
of my lifestyle and my
exactly.
practices, and it's the knowledge that I have. It's how I eat. It's how I live. The environment, and these are the things. Because you know, washing your hands and wearing a mask is not enough, and social distancing from people is not enough. And I feel like the collective needs to understand that there's more to help themselves, and that's what I want to give them. And
Excellent.
even though it's hot now, it's great. And I say that it can't live in the heat in a certain degrees, but I just know that when things get cold again,
Mm-hmm.
in the fall and the winter time, that's when we have to look out. So this is the time to prepare. It's not the time to sit here and go, oh, it's time to be social. And it's great to be social, but
Mm-hmm.
also, let's be social in a way that gives you some tools
Yes.
and to actually prepare your immune system, and don't wait to backpedal when it actually happens.
Well,
So,
exactly. I mean, it's your body is a miraculous machine, as you well know, right? And
yes.
it does not stand to reason that we can eat high sugar, high dye cereal in the morning, and donuts, and bagels, and fast food for lunch, and then maybe dinner at home, but it's usually high carb pasta, red meat type of things, and on the daily. And then when virus season pops up, wondering why we succumb to this stuff and how we can fix it real fast and wash our hands and social distance and wear masks, like it's going to save us, when we really should have been fortifying our bodies with nutrition, so when virus season pops up, virus comes along and body goes, yeah, get the hell out of here.
Exactly. So how do you build? So the question is, how do you build um, resiliency in your body so it can handle
Exactly.
it?
So what's your first answer to that question?
Well, one of the first things I like to say, and it's the funniest thing that happened when all of this kind of went down,
Mm-hmm.
is there was a lot of panic going on in the world.
Right, right.
And so I like to bring that up because that's part of our emotions. And I told you my story for a reason,
Yeah.
because I was triggered by my family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it upset me. So I was emotional.
Mm-hmm.
So that in itself, when you're emotional about something, gives you a hotbed to, oh, you possibly could, you make yourself vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Now, if
So
you don't mind, I wanna kind of parse that apart, because I don't want people to get the impression that just having emotions or expressing your emotions is a risk. It's not. It's
it's
the
not.
fact that you were triggered by old drama, right?
Yes,
Family drama. This is heavy. It pulls you down. It does not, it doesn't, emotion is not the bad thing. It's the kind of slogging through the mud emotion that
yes.
pulls you down out of your
Oh.
vibe.
So it's like trauma.
Yeah. Yes. Exactly.
And so I never used to want to call it trauma because I am a shaman, right?
Mm.
And so that's what we deal with all day long, believe it or not. But trauma is not just like, all of a sudden somebody's trying to, kill you or you run for your life. But trauma is the little things
Mm-hmm.
that got to us when we were probably a child and we didn't get our needs handled.
Right.
And so what happens is we took that in, and so then and then later on in life we have no idea because that was programmed in us at such a very young age. And so what happens is bam, so when it gets triggered again, it's like, oh, then you react a certain way. So I happen to react with the food. So the first one is this trauma piece, but it also can be emotions. It's part of the emotions that we react to the
Mm-hmm.
trauma, right?
Yes.
Because
Yes.
it's like, oh my God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's something that happens inside of you. So a lot of anxiety happened when this first broke out. So I think
Yes.
people were not feeling safe.
Yes.
And so it's the thing that's like, no, that is the thing that we're not supposed to go to. And not to say that you're supposed to stop those feelings because it's easier said than done. But how do you move through them is the
Yes.
key. And so
Yes.
part of the work that I do to move through it will help you move through it fast. And that's why I was able to get it well in 48 hours because I knew what I was dealing with because I looked at them like, whoa, look at how all this transpired, right?
Right.
So anyway, so part of it is moving through those emotions that those traumas that come up. It's triggered, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I teach people how to do that. And one of the ways I can help people do is to just holding your fingers is a real key thing. And so the fingers represent different things. I have a Chinese medicine background, and also I blend it with another healing art called Jin Jitsu that comes from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And just holding the fingers will help you do a lot of things and help you shift your state of emotions really fast. So, for instance, if people are feeling anxiety, they would hold the baby finger. So, I'm actually going to be sharing this on my in
Like
depth
this,
for my
just like
webinar.
holding it, like hugging it.
Yeah, just hold it. Just take, it doesn't matter which side, you just hold it, whichever side you're drawn to. I'm always drawn to hold my left side because the left side is emotional, the right side is lifestyle. So, just take a moment and hold the baby finger. And I think there's a lot of anxiety going on in the world right now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
So people are triggered by what has happened in the past, and it's triggering something that has happened possibly in their childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Isn't it
and that's
interesting
just
how we
free.
have these programmed ways to numb? Like yours is food, right?
Mm-hmm.
That when that old drama and trauma does get triggered, we have that. And I'm reminded of that movie Click. Have you ever watched that Adam Sandler movie Click?
I might have. I haven't watched TV or haven't watched movies and TV in a long time,
It's
but
fairly
there's a
old
lot of
now.
Adam Sandler movies I have seen.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is the one where he's a family guy and he is given
Oh, the
this
remote.
remote control. Yeah.
Yes, I remember
And
that.
and
Yes.
how, he would get into these situations that he didn't want to deal with and he'd fast forward through it. And that is like exactly what our brain does. We get triggered by a situation, oh god, I don't want to be here again, right? and
Mm-hmm.
and it hits the fast forward, which in the meantime, right, means we're
I
eating,
just heard
or
that.
means we're drinking, or means we're whatever, and that's the numb part until the fast forward stops again.
Right,
It's just
right.
like that what our bodies do. I just phenomenal. Just it's fascinating to me.
So we might as well get on to the next thing then.
Yes,
So I
absolutely.
mentioned to you all about the eating all the baked goods on
Mm-hmm.
Valentine's Day. And so that's sugar. And so a lot of people tend to run for the sugar. As I vulnerably so share with you.
Mm-hmm.
I went for the sugar to bring the sweetness of life to me, right?
Right there you go.
Like that was going to solve everything. And so, but the interesting thing is that I don't want to deprive people of the sweet taste because in Chinese medicine, we actually encourage you to experience all the different types of taste there are.
Mm-hmm.
So one thing I do teach people is to what do you eat? How can you substitute sugar? And there's so many different substitutes out there, and many of them are carcinogenic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so you have to look at that. So a lot of people look at Splenda, nope. A lot of people look at Equal, no. And then there's things like honey and maple syrup, and those are a little bit more healthier.
Mm-hmm.
The thing about honey, if you are a person, by the way, who has diabetes, that is not the one to go to because it will spike your blood sugar. It will trigger your diabetic reactions to it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I don't recommend honey. Maple syrup is another one. The good thing about maple syrup is that it has minerals in it, so it does give you some antioxidants and some minerals and things like that, but even so, it's not my number one recommendation for a sugar substitute.
Especially when you consider the packaged maple syrups that are out there that are loaded with added sugar and not actually real maple
And I'm
syrup.
talking about real maple
Yeah,
syrup,
yeah,
by the
you
way.
have to find the real maple syrup, and that stuff's expensive. I lived in Vermont for a couple of
I
years,
I'm
Yeah.
talking about real maple syrup. That's 100% maple syrup that
Yeah.
they get from the trees, right?
Yeah.
So, and then there's stevia. Stevia can be a pretty good substitute, but it isn't always one-to-one substitute with sugar. So we have to be careful of that. So it doesn't spike the blood sugars or shouldn't. Now, I want to talk about agave because many people think that agave is a great substitute for sugar. I was even in the bake shop that day with the woman who's like, I want to know what's got agave. And I was like, agave really isn't that great for you. Agave is actually hard for the liver to process. And
Really?
that's why we don't recommend it. And its molecules are very similar to sugar. And so it will spike the glycemic, it will spike your blood sugar levels. And if you're insulin resistant, it will trigger that as well. And
Gotcha.
it's so funny because I remember when I made something with agave for the first time, because it was supposed to be that, you know,
Mm-hmm.
that's sugar substitute that's supposed to be good for you, right? And so I remember just experiencing going, oh, I feel yucky. And I could just feel like my blood sugar levels were like what's wrong with you? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't feel good.
Yeah.
My body gives me instant feedback on
Yeah.
anything.
Well, you know how to listen to it.
Yes. Well, it's also called body consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
So I
Mm-hmm.
know when my body's off. I can
Right.
feel
Right.
because it's energetically, I know when it's off, right? So the other one, the one I would recommend to folks is monk fruit sweetener, and I think its Chinese name is Loguan.
Okay.
And so monk fruit sweetener, I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but it is one that has antioxidants in it. It does not spike the blood sugar levels. If you're trying to lose weight, it's great, it's fine, and doesn't have the calories that sugar has in it. So
Nice.
the one-to-one sugar substitute. So if you're baking, it's going to be a little bit more investment, but it's an investment in your health, and you have to realize that. So
Gotcha. So, do you have to go to a special store to find it, or the Asian section of your
no, the health
supermarket?
food stores have it. The health food stores will have it. So you'll find it at Sprouts to Whole Foods to whatever your health food store is there. Like we have Lassen's and Erewhon's here in LA. But they have it. They have it. And
Awesome.
I have had clients tell me they have found it at Costco. Okay.
Wow. That's
Yeah, a big
awesome.
bag of the monk fruit sweetener. I've even found it at, sometimes when I travel, there's a, what do you call it, a grocery outlet down the store from my client's house. And I've gone to stop there and they've actually had monk fruit sweetener there. They have a golden one and they have a regular white sugar that looks like a white sugar one. So
Mm-hmm.
I've used both. So like, cause I have a recipe that's this healthy cookie recipe that I have. And that's what I substitute instead of using, I think they actually want me to use coconut sugar. I've used the brown sugar version of the of
Okay.
the monk fruit
I'll have
sweetener
to
in it.
look for that. That sounds really, really interesting. Does it change the taste? Like, for
Yeah.
example, when you put honey in your tea, it changes it from sugar, like the taste of
No,
it.
it doesn't.
That's awesome.
It actually tastes more like sugar than anything. It's the closest thing I've seen. And I discovered this because I went to a health conference probably back in 2015, 16, sometime like that. And it was called Take Back Your Health. Well, they gave us samples of this monk fruit sweetener. I'm like, what is this? What is this? So I started to research it and look it up. I'm like, oh, okay, this is actually better. And then I actually have used it more recently than ever. And I have cooked with it. I've baked with it. They even have a liquid version, just like you see a liquid version of stevia. So
Mm-hmm.
if you want to put that in a cup of tea or something, like I like to make matcha green tea lattes with almond milk.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll put a little bit of that sweetener in it, and it's fine. Just one little squirt, and it
Nice.
sweetens it just fine. So
Excellent. Excellent. So we've got, some good foods, right? So the monk fruit sweetener for one thing. Any other foods that you would recommend to work into our diets now before virus season hits
Well,
again?
I always say to alkalize your body. That's
Okay.
the main thing. And alkalizing your body actually keeps dis-ease away. If you
Right.
have an acidic environment, and meaning that, this is looking at the pH level, if you ever study chemistry in school. So I believe that's like at about a 7.0 pH level is where the neutral thing is. It might be 6.7 to 7.0. So
Mm-hmm.
anything that is below 7.0 is going to be very acidic. Anything that is above 7.0 is more alkaline, right?
Okay.
And so the thing about it is we can create a very acidic environment just from stress in our lives.
Okay.
So what we want to do is we want to put alkalizing foods into our bodies to combat that stress that we might have felt anyway, that would make our body more acidic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so part of that would be eating fresh vegetables and fruit. So the more raw the food is, the better it is. That's easier to eat in the summertime. So this is a wonderful time to have a
Right.
lot of salads. And I say the greener things are, the more alkalizing they are.
Okay,
So,
great.
eat, lettuce. So romaine lettuce to, the salad green mixes. Eat all that stuff raw, juicing with vegetables. And a lot of people, I actually have a juice recipe that I use that I learned a long time ago because I was sick
Mm-hmm.
with many things. I shouldn't say I was sick. I had a bleeding colon. So I had to learn a lot of the stuff that I teach people to shift,
Mm-hmm.
their whole system and make it more alkalizing. And so one of the things I juice with is romaine lettuce,
Mm-hmm.
cucumber, zucchini, and the fourth thing, what's the fourth thing? Celery. How could I forget that? Celery. Because everybody uses celery juice today because of the medical medium, I think. A lot of people juice the celery. At one point, it was hard to find celery in the stores or.
I heard back in the 60s it was big like that too. Celery juice and carrot juice back when the Jack LaLanne, juicers were coming out and stuff like that. And I'll be honest with you, I don't like celery juice. It's salty to me.
It is salty.
Yeah.
Well, I think the reason why it works is because of those salts that our bodies need.
Yes,
Okay.
I would agree with you. I'm not saying it's not healthy for you. It's just hard for me to swallow. I wanted to
Well,
ask you though.
it'd be interesting if you mixed it in with these other combinations because I prefer the mixture.
Yeah, yeah, I get you.
I live here with my sister and she drinks celery juice every day and she has seen a difference because she had skin condition called eczema since she was a baby. So
Really?
she's been using that and that has helped her in a big way. Now, I will sometimes just drink the celery juice, but I prefer to add these extra ones I'm telling you, romaine lettuce and
Right. The
um,
zucchini.
zucchini and cucumber. And it makes a big difference. So,
Awesome. I will keep that in mind. I also wanted to ask you about lemons because this confuses me. Right? You would think lemons are highly acidic. They are so tart, right? And they're literally. I mean, the name of them, if the long name of them is an acid, right? A
mm-hmm.
citric acid.
Right.
But when you eat them, they're actually alkalizing to your body. Is that correct?
That's correct. Well, what lemon does, even though it feels like it's contradictory, right? I guess we would say that it
Yeah,
feels that way.
it's yeah.
So it is, so when you put it in water, it alkalizes the water.
Mm-hmm.
So it's got, it's minerals, as what I would say, that citric acid, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't recommend that, we just, and a lot of things, well, lemons and just like apple cider vinegar,
Mm-hmm.
they adjust the pH level in your body so it's not so acidic. And it actually helps you with your digestive system. And so we need stomach acid to actually digest our food because if we don't have the proper pH level in our stomach to digest the food, then we don't get the nutrients from the food, and it kind of goes through us, and so it doesn't really work. So lemon will actually help. It helps your digestive system along with apple cider vinegar. So it helps to build it's not necessarily alkaline, but it helps to build that stomach acid that you need to digest.
Gotcha.
And I
Yeah,
think
see,
that's the
that's where I
best
get
way to
all
find
confused in it
that.
because it works one way in one area and works a different way. But yeah, they're pretty amazing. We have a couple of comments from Bashir Sonia Olha, and she says that celery juice tastes just like skim milk in the winter. It's a seasonal thing. Maybe if it's grown in a hothouse in the north, it will keep that taste, but not sure. There's definitely a night and day between summer and winter celery juice. Interesting. Have
I
you
don't know. I
experienced
haven't
that?
quite experienced that. I'm in California where and
Yeah.
Los Angeles, California, where things are the climate is pretty temperate, right? And
Yeah.
so
Yeah, winter in Los
whatever feels
Angeles where you
happening in
wear long
winter,
pants to the beach.
exactly. So wherever we have, celery in the winter is going to be similar to celery in the summertime. Honestly, it might be a little bit more hardier in the wintertime. But I'm just thinking, in the spring it's even more green, and the wintertime is probably less green for us
Mm,
actually.
maybe so.
So
Maybe so. Um, she says she hasn't had her breakfast yet. She needs to go drink her juice. So thank you for your comments, though, Bashir.
thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so we got some good food tips. Now, tip two is clearing your emotions. Is there more than just hugging your digits to restore a little bit of calm? What else do you recommend?
Well, while you're hugging those digits, by the way, you should be breathing as well.
Nice.
So your breath is very important.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is really you stopping and being present with yourself. So as you hold each digit,
Mm-hmm.
because each one represents something. The thumb is worry, the index is fear, the middle finger is anger. That's probably what I should have
That
been holding
makes.
with my sister when I was with the family that week. And
I'm
then
just
the
hugging my middle finger over here, Mama. I'm just hugging my
and
middle
then
finger.
And then this one I feel is very important. Is the ringer. The ring finger is all about sadness and grief. And I think, over the last 3 months, many of us have been feeling a lot of sadness and grief. Maybe we're feeling grief about losing our freedom because it did feel like that a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So that one I could feel it. I'm very empathic, so I feel the collective's energies. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God, I'm feeling a lot of sadness and grief. And it's very interesting that COVID was very much they said it was all about pneumonia, but honestly, it's not just pneumonia.
Mm-mm.
And when they got down to start treating patients, what the doctors have found is that a ventilator didn't necessarily help people. And
Mm-hmm.
it's more like a high altitude kind of breathing issue that was going on with
Yeah.
people.
I'm
And
I'm partial to the theory that it is a matter of it's a disease of the blood that pushes the oxygen molecules out of the blood and doesn't allow the blood to carry the oxygen where it needs to go. Now,
mhm.
I'm no expert, I'm no doctor, but from how it felt and the fact that my bronchial tubes were so irritated tight but there was no mucus to produce up,
Right, no
I'm
stomach.
inclined to
Uh-huh.
think that yeah, my lungs are getting, that there's a problem with the interchange of the oxygen coming in and out of the lungs into the blood. something
Absolutely.
something there.
Yes. And when I started to collaborate with some of my other fellow healers, this is the discussions that were being had. Like, yeah, it's not really a pneumonia that they're treating, and they're treating it wrong. And even doctors, I've seen videos of doctors talking about, I don't think we're treating this right. And so basically, I felt like, part of it, what I could feel happening when I was having, it's like, oh, because I used to have asthma, a really bad case of asthma.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't really feel that trigger, but I could feel a low level of wheezing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And if it got worse, it was like, oh my God. And the first thing when I feel that, it's like, oh my God, we got to nip this in the bud right now.
Right.
And so that's what I treat people. That's what I'm going to be teaching people how to do is level up your immune system program, is teaching them how to work with their lungs specifically. But also, I have the whole thing down. When I went to Peru, that was an issue of being at a high altitude because the oxygen levels go
Right.
down when you're at a high altitude, and so that was a concern going to Peru back in 2012 for me. So it was funny because I couldn't work out before I went because I had a back injury from working out actually,
Mm-hmm.
which is interesting. So I was like, well, Tomasa, you're going to have to depend on your healing arts to help you. So one of the things I teach people to do is do this when you're high altitude. You know,
What does
you
this
just
do?
take your thumb to your ring finger and you hold this and you breathe. And so everybody was huffing and puffing whenever we climbed somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I would go, you guys just do this. And I did this the whole way when we hiked, and I was fine.
Isn't
So
that amazing? I can
there's
feel it
something
myself.
simple.
Just the difference right in here. Right in here, everything's filling a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting
Yeah.
stuff. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. All right.
So
Thank
there's
you.
I think there's one more tip here
Yep.
that I probably want to share with people. And so even though the immune system I can talk about in Chinese medicine, there is something called Wei Qi, and Wei Qi is like a protective layer to your immune system. And so this is what we were talking about. The reason why my lifestyle, why I was able to nip it so fast in the bud, is because I have a very strong Wei Qi. And so that's what I want to teach people, how to build a stronger Wei Qi.
Nice.
So some of the things I have shared with you, the food, even holding the fingers and all those things, that's just the start of it.
Okay.
There's other things that we need to look at, such as your environment. There's all kinds of things that contribute to you building a strong Wei Qi. And so
Nice.
that would be the thing that you
Awesome. So that would
would.
be the things that we're working towards for Thursday, right? June 11th.
Yeah, tomorrow I'm teaching that. And it's called the 5 must-have immune boosters to give your body a fighting chance. And so
Phenomenal.
I have a link if you want to sign up for that webinar. It's going to be probably between 90 minutes and 2 hours.
Okay.
So be prepared and come, and I will give you an experience that will keep you going, to help boost your immune system. And there's always more to learn. So if you're interested, should I share that link with
Yes,
you?
please do. Please do.
No,
And
I'm
we'll
going to give
have
you the
that as well in the description later as I post this up.
yeah,
But for right now,
right.
for our listeners, what is that link?
So that link right now is bit.ly/immune booster webinar.
Excellent.
So
And
that's
that's
real
all
simple.
lowercase as well?
Yes, all
Okay.
lowercase. bit.ly/immune booster webinar.
Excellent. All right. Thank you so much for that. We will get that out there once this is over in the description as well. Do you have any final thoughts for our audience today? Anything you'd like to share with them?
I want to say to you all to really just take care of yourselves. Enjoy the sunshine. The sunshine has vitamin D for you. So we're those of us who are in the upper hemisphere right now, we are experiencing, or northern hemisphere, I should say, we're experiencing more sunshine now. So enjoy that. Allow your body to get some vitamin D because that will help you. There are other things you can do as well. Exercising, go out there and exercise. Um, and make sure you're breathing. So if you're indoors, yes, respect people, wear a mask. If you're outdoors, they're saying it's okay to breathe outdoors without a mask on. And I actually have a totally different mask now because I felt like even this mask here, the cloth
Mm-hmm.
mask or whatever mask you wear, I feel like it was like suffocating with my own, air,
Mm-hmm.
CO2. And so I was like, oh no. So I actually have a mask that is a shield more or less. So it's
Okay.
not covering me up that way. And I can actually breathe easier with that. So
That's
that's the
wonderful.
important thing.
Awesome.
And if you have things like diabetes or any pre existing conditions, and come on the webinar. I've helped people with a lot of different conditions. It's been fun to see people shift and turn things around. I've seen, family members and clients sit here on the verge of diabetes, and I've helped them shift that so that they don't have to go on, insulin, things like that. So
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, I encourage everyone that's watching right now to definitely join Tomasa on this seminar tomorrow. I know that it's going to be chock full of amazing tidbits and tools. And I want to learn a little bit more about how to fortify my Wei Chi as well. So I'll be there. I'll be there.
cool. Good.
So
I look forward to having you on board with me.
absolutely. Thank you so much for being my guest today and for so much for what you're doing in the world and on the planet to have healthy beings surrounding us everywhere. So thank you.
Thank you for the invitation, the opportunity to share this with the world. So thank you for what you're doing too.
Well,
important work.
my pleasure. All right, Facebook, have a fabulous day, and we'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye. When you open yourself up to actual energy work, makes that recovery progress so much faster. That recovery is possible. You do not have to live as a victim until your last days. You have unbelievable strength, and I know that because you're still here. Do you want to create something completely unrecognizable with your life? I can show you how.